Hello and welcome back to Beyond the Words with me, your host, Dimple Thakrar. Wow. Actually, I should start saying Dimple Amore because I have changed my name, my professional name, to Dimple Amore. This podcast today, I want to start with something that I was talking to Matt about, actually, the incredible guy that helps me with all the tech in this studio. And it was, I don't know why, and I don't need to know why, but for some reason, God sends me angels every step of the way with the transmission of this podcast. It's almost as if the transmission is guided and divine by every single person that's meant to be on board with it. The transmission comes through me, but it can only come through me and get to you with the other people on board. So, for example, my first season, I had producer Joe, right? Then I wanted to go into studio, and it took me 6 months to find the right studio before I would record. That's why there's been such a big gap between the episodes, between the seasons, because I wouldn't compromise my standards, because I know why and how powerful this transmission is and how it can help so many of you. And so the previous episode that I just recorded, we talked about Soul's Word. And in between the recordings, Matt and I were chatting, and, I was just like, what do you think your soul's word is? And he came up with his, and it was so in alignment with who he is and how he operates. And the minute he said it, I felt it. And so this is how you know when you're working in alignment with your life. Just simply identifying what your soul's word is can save you so much time and so much energy in decision making. And so I want to talk you through a little exercise that you can do, because I'm hearing you all going, how the hell do I know what my soul's word is? How do I find out? How do I connect? What do I have to do? It's really hard for me. I know I'm spiritual, but I don't often know how to use that. Here's what you do. Play with me. I want you to close your eyes right now. I'm going to do it with you. Take a breath. I want you to go inwards. What I mean by that is put your attention and intention into your heart. See, I'm moving energy for you guys as we speak, like it's... Go inwards. Quieten the noise of the head. Take a few breaths to ground yourself. Go inwards. Ask your soul very simply, what is my soul's word? And wait. It's the first word that comes to you. Don't overthink it. This is not a thinking game. It's the first word. And then check in. Is that how you're living your life? How does it feel when you say the word? Does it feel true? I can pretty much guarantee it will feel true, or as close as. And so, for me, my soul's word is love. For you, it might be kindness. It might be joy. It might be generosity. It might be service. Here's what I've also come to learn, and again, this is something we were chatting about. Sometimes it can feel like when you are guided to do things in your soul's alignment, for example, in service, if your soul's alignment is service, if your soul's alignment is generosity, if your soul's alignment is kindness, what can happen is you can sometimes feel like people take the piss. You're kind, you're generous, you take care of everyone. And it can sometimes feel like they're taking advantage of you. There's a little nuance with this, and here's what I want to explain. The nuance is that when we give our soul's alignment from a place of overflows, what do I mean by that? When you are so full with giving yourself generosity, kindness, service, for me, love. So when I take care of me in terms of self-love, and I fill me up so full of love, and then I give you love from a place of overflow, I don't even register the other person's response. They can't take the piss out of me. They can't, it's not even available for me to feel that response, because I've given from overflow. So it's irrelevant how they respond. But here's the caveat. When I haven't given me enough of me, and I'm half empty, and then I give to you, I give from a place of obligation, and I feel resentment, and I feel anger and bitterness and dissatisfaction, disappointment. And here's what happens. That other person receives it that way. And that's when you get the mirror back. Oh, that didn't feel so good. That felt like they were taking the piss. They didn't really appreciate me. It's a mirror. It's an actual mirror for, are you appreciating you? Are you giving enough of you to you? Do you see that it's a tiny nuance, a little difference, tiny 2 millimeter shift in perspective? And so it's not enough to just know your soul's word. It's, are you making decisions in fullness of you or in half empty? I'm being called to share this story at this moment. So my younger daughter, when she was about 2, I was having this conversation with her, discussing this concept with her. And I said to her, Kira, I was discussing the half empty, half full concept. You know, is your cup half empty or half full? So for those of you who haven't heard it, it's the concept that how do you perceive things? Do you see things as half full, i.e. it's a good thing, or do you see the emptiness, what's missing, right? It's abundance mindset and scarcity mindset. And so I said to her, you know, which one is it for you? And I explained the concept to her. Like, I'm talking to a 2-year-old, right? But it came up in conversation, so I'm explaining this concept to her. And she went quiet. And she's looking and pondering. And I gave her a moment. And then I said, do you need me to explain it again, Kira? Did you understand what I said? And she went, I did understand, Mum. And she called me Mummy then. I did understand, Mummy. I said, so what are you thinking about? Is it half empty or half full? And she said, I can't answer it because I don't actually have a cup. A whole, like the innocence of a child. There was no container in the overflow of her joy. That's just her status quo. Her cup never got empty. It never got half emptied because there wasn't a container for it big enough. In the same way, when she was 7 years old and I said, let's do vision boards, and I explained what those were. And I got boards for us, and I got all the magazines and the cutter and everything. And we lay it on the table. And she said, Mummy, I want to do this in my bedroom. I said, okay. So she went up and did it in her bedroom. I'd finished, she came down. I finished, Mummy. I said, bring it down, let me see. Bring it down, let me see. And she said, I can't bring it down, Mummy. You'll have to come to my room. I said, okay. I went up to her room. Her room layout is, as you walk in, there was a double bed on the back wall. And then a window to the left, a wardrobe to the right, and then a blank wall facing her bed. And I said, where is it? And she said, turn around. I turned around and faced the blank wall. She had done a whole wall of vision board. So the moment she woke up, that's what she saw. And I was like, wow. I said, wow, that's a great idea. She said, Mummy, that board was way too small for my vision. She needed a wall, right? So 2 things here. 1, how often are you allowing yourself to run on empty? And as a result, the feedback you're getting from others is discomfort, disappointment, frustration, feeling used and abused. It's not actually about them. And number 2, is it possible that you can allow yourself to not have a container and be so full all the time that you don't feel the need to contain your joy, your generosity, your service, your bliss, your love, your kindness, whatever your word is? Irrespective of what else is going on, can you unconditionally love yourself first? What does that mean? When you get pissed off, can you love yourself anyway? When you get angry at somebody and say something you really isn't in alignment with you, can you love yourself anyway? When you weren't as of service as you would have liked to have been, can you be of service to yourself anyway? Can you be of service in forgiving yourself? What if we all lived like this? Where we were able to forgive and let go. So this brings me on to growth. You see, for a long time, up until probably that intervention and up until I had a massive energy healing yesterday with an incredible woman, Juliet Carmen. I will put her details in the show notes. And what transpired is that what I thought was truth before wasn't actually truth now, was an illusion. What I believed to be true before about the people around me, about the way I was treated, about so many things. I mean, how many times in your life, you know, I'm not proud to say this, but when my children were growing up, I didn't understand my husband and what he did for a living and where and what was going on, and all I saw was a man that worked 24/7 and wasn't there when I needed him to put the babies to bed. And I was exhausted. Doesn't make me wrong, doesn't make him wrong or right. It was just where we were at. And my truth at that moment was, he's a friggin' layabout. I have no idea what he's doing. And it pains me to say that I would say that. when the children ask, what does Daddy do? He's a layabout. And I look back at that now with kindness and compassion for the shame and guilt I've felt in the past of saying it. Because that was my truth then. But the evolution of me and the ups and downs of life that have caused me to look deeply at myself. Is this truth? Is this loving? Is this like, if I ask myself that question, my soul's word is love. Was that loving to me? Was that loving to him? Was that loving to our children? The answer's no. So this brings me on to a methodology I use called a decision tree. And it's a way of, when you're confused and stuck in decisions, it's a way of making decisions really easily. So the way you do it is you ask yourself the question, is this good for me? So me calling my husband a layabout, was that really good for me? Not really. It wasn't kind. It wasn't the truth of love. Is that good for him? Hell no. Is that good for the greater good of all? Well, it wasn't good for the parenting, wasn't good for the kids, and it certainly wasn't good for the greater good of all because it wasn't true. This is what I call the decision tree. So whenever you have a decision in your life, is this good for me? So you ask yourself that first. Is this good for the other person? Is this good for the greater good of all? If you get a no in any one of those moments, you don't do it. It has to be a 3 yes. Triple yes. Now here's the kicker. Most of us use this technique, but we do it the other way around. We ask, is this good for the greater good of all? Is this good for them? Is this good for me? Wrong way around. Because what you're doing is you're doing it from a place of empty for you. You have to check you're full first. And by asking if it's good for you first, that's your check-in. Because if you do it the other way around, you're always going to feel you're doing stuff from obligation. And because it's the right thing to do. Because good boys and good girls do the right thing. For fear of the discomfort of upsetting somebody. Here's the thing with upsetting somebody. They get to choose how they respond. You can hold them with deep compassion and sit with them as they process their emotions. But the moment you take those emotions on as yours, game over. You do them the great disservice of not growing from it. And you do you the great disservice of taking on something that isn't yours, believe me, from a woman who's had to clear loads of shit out of her body that wasn't hers. You don't want to go there. It's painful. And then you struggle to distinguish between, is this my feeling or is this theirs? It's a bit like when for those of you who have children, or for those of you who've experienced children, when a child first learns to walk from crawling, you cannot pick them up every time they fall. Because what would happen? They'd never learn how to get up themselves. Do they hurt themselves when they fall? Yes. Are they likely to bang their head? Yes. Of course you minimise the damage. But they have to learn how to get themselves back up. And they have to learn how to navigate the pain of the fall. It's the only way we grow. Pain and pleasure. We're mostly motivated by pain. But there is an opportunity for you to be motivated by pleasure. And that's through these techniques. What's your soul's word? Are you full and coming from a place of abundance? If you're not sure, the decision tree. Is it this? Is it this? Is it this? Is it good for me? Is it good for you? Is it good for the greater good of all? I promise you live your life by this. I promise you, whenever you're making a decision or speaking to somebody and you're not congruent with whether it's the right decision for you, take a breath. Take a moment. What's my soul's word? Is this loving for me? My word is love. Is this loving for me? Is this loving for them? Is this loving for the greater good of all? If your word is kind, is this kind to me? Is this kind to them? Is this kind for the greater good of all? If your word is generosity, is this generous to me? Is this generous to them? Is this generous for the greater good of all? It's that simple. So just following these very simple techniques can save you so much heartache. I can't promise it won't be an easy road. There will be bumps on the way. People will get hurt. And when they do, can you just hold them? What does that mean? I was upset the other day, and I was holding a lot of grief, and I was genuinely upset. And I got the person next to me asking me, "What do you need?" I said, "I just need to be held." And they just held me. They didn't say anything. They didn't do anything. They just held me as I cried. And I shuddered in their arms. Now, just asking that question, what do you need? Somebody might say, "I just need you to sit with me. I just need space, but I need you to be present with me." Don't underestimate the power of your presence. You holding space and saying nothing, zip, has more power than any words you could possibly imagine. That's why this podcast is called Beyond the Words. For many of you, I've had a lot of feedback saying sometimes you don't even hear what I'm saying in this podcast. You just feel the transmission in my words, in the frequency of my voice. You feel calm. You feel relaxed but understood the message beyond the words. That's my desire for you. Can you hold space for people in this way, where you're not taking on their emotions or discomfort, but you're literally the container, the masculine container, so that the emotions can flow freely without being all over the place? We think about this glass of water. If there was no glass, the water would be everywhere. Can you be the glass so that they can flow freely? You do this, and the connection that you will feel for those people will be beyond any words you could possibly give them. Sometimes we work too hard at it. We try and overcomplicate what's needed, when all that's really needed is your deepest presence. So with that said, I want to gift you my presence today. I want to honor your presence today. Thank you so much for your time, your presence, and you witnessing the truth of me. Take care. God bless.